New York Giants Week 12 preview. The Giants come in at 2-8 off their bye week against the Chicago Bears, who are 4-6. They will be the home team in this one. Two teams that have been very disappointing in 2019. Obviously, the Bears had a lot of high hopes coming off a 12-4 season, I think it was last year. Some things that went wrong for them, some injuries, some decline in their quarterback, obviously. So let's get into this game. We'll start with the Bears side, and we'll start with their notes. So for the Bears offense, they have 262 total yards per game. That's 30th in the NFL. 16.9 points per game, 28th in the NFL. 182 passing yards per game, 30th in the NFL. And 79, basically 80 rushing yards per game. That's 30th in the NFL. So their offense has been awful this year. If they had a little bit of offense, they'd probably be a much better team, but their offense has been giving them nothing this year, unfortunately. Their offensive line is ranked 28th in the NFL, according to Football Outsiders. So for their players, Allen Robinson might be the most underrated wide receiver one in football. He came from Jacksonville a couple of years ago. I mean, he is such a good player, but he's just on the wrong team, I should say, because of the quarterback situation they have there right now. So Allen Robinson, I think, still has some good stats, but he might be like the best kept secret in terms of wide receiver ones in the NFL. Like, let's hypothetically say Allen Robinson was swapped with like Julio Jones and you put him on the Falcons. I mean, Allen Robinson would be a guy who's probably going to have, 1,300 yards a year. I think he already had a 14 touchdown year like 3 or 4 years ago. So he's a very good receiver. You have to watch out for him. And Janoris Jenkins and DeAndre Baker will have their hands full with that matchup. So Trubisky or Daniels? So, of course, the quarterback situation. Matt Nagy said yesterday, I believe, that when Mitch Trubisky's healthy, he's his quarterback. And Mitch Trubisky has practiced fully the last 2 days. So it seems like he will be the starting quarterback on Sunday, but you never know. They have good playmakers on this team. Of course, Tariq Cohen, the short running back, who is a very good player, like one of the quickest players in the NFL, kind of like Kyler Murray in a way, except he plays running back. They have Taylor Gabriel, a former Falcon, speaking of the Falcon, nice player for them, and Anthony Miller at wide receiver. So some fast guys on this team, some playmakers. Even Cordero Patterson returns kickoffs for them, so that's another fast player to watch out for. They have some playmakers on this team. And the running attack has not been consistent for them this year. They have David Montgomery, who I believe is a third-round rookie, who's been inconsistent this year. I mean, he's had some good games. I think he had, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago had a really nice game, but really has not been consistent this year. Matt Nagy's had some games where he just went away from the run for the whole game, so I think he'll be better with that. Obviously, he's been critiqued about it, but we'll see what the Bears rushing attack does. If there's a get-right game for your running back, hey, you might as well play the Giants. I mean, their secondary's worse, but of course you can run against the Giants too. So for the Bears defense, still one of the better ones in the football. 322 total yards allowed per game, 4th best in the NFL. 17 points allowed per game, 8th best in the NFL. 227 passing yards allowed per game, 10th best in the NFL. 95 rushing yards per game allowed, 8th in the NFL. So the good news is there's no Danny Trevathan, who's a really good linebacker for them. He had a very gruesome elbow injury, and I did not see it until tonight. And, don't watch it. It was not good unless you're into that kind of stuff for some reason. I know some people are. It's weird. But if you're into, gruesome injuries and arms going the wrong way, then go ahead and watch it. Akeem Hicks is out as well. He's been out for a while. He's been on IR for, almost a month now. He's a really good run stopper, a very good defensive end for this team. So we definitely lucked out not having to play him as well. As I just said, Akeem Hicks, very good run stopper. He's not Hakeem Nicks, Giants fans. It's Akeem Hicks. It's a very close name to Hakeem Nicks. I always got those names confused when when Hakeem was still playing in the NFL. But it's funny how those names are so close. So their linebackers should destroy the Giants' O-line. You think about their outside linebackers, Leonard Floyd and Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith. They have a bunch of linebackers on this team, especially when they blitz, that will probably destroy this offensive line. So Daniel Jones has to watch himself this game. Of course, you can't be worried about getting sacked, but this might be rough for the Giants' offensive line, if I'm being honest with you guys. So the Bears' secondary is still really good. Their defense isn't as dominant as it was last year, but this secondary on this team is still very good. They have old friend Prince Amukamara in their secondary, so they have some guys on this team, especially in their secondary, that are very good, and it's still very hard to pass on them. So it's going to be a tough test, of course, when the opponent's Mitch Trubisky. Anything can happen, but apparently, according to Chase Daniel himself, this is Mitch Trubisky's best day of practice, or best week of practice, I should say, since he's been with him. So you never know. Maybe Mitch Trubisky has a 5-touchdown game. I think it happened last year when they played Detroit, so crazier things have happened, but we'll see how Mitch Trubisky plays on Sunday. That's definitely the biggest part of this game. So now let's get on to the Giants and their notes. So for the Giants offense, how does Daniel Jones play against this great defense? I just talked about their secondary, even their linebackers. They're probably going to try and blitz Daniel Jones a lot and just get him rattled. Doesn't have much of an offensive line, obviously, so I'm definitely concerned about him and how he's going to play in this game, but he's had tougher tasks. We saw him play in New England on a short week this year, so that's as tough as it gets, but playing in Chicago is definitely tough. I mean, this defense is legit, obviously, so if Daniel Jones plays well in this game, like if he goes out there and throws for 280 and 2 touchdowns even, I mean, that's very good. I mean, we'll take it. Obviously, if he has 3 or 4 turnovers, that's not good, but we'll see what happens with him. So this is a big test for him, though. If he plays well in this game and does not turn the ball over much, I'd be very satisfied with that. So don't expect a lot. He's not going to throw for 400 yards probably, so have some some modest expectations for Daniel Jones in this one. Let's be fair to the rookie here. Does Saquon Barkley bounce back after the bye? So the last, I think, 2 games coming into the bye, very rough for Saquon. The Cowboy game, they basically got nothing in that game, and then the Jets won, the 13 carries for 1 yard, whatever it was. Very rough for him. So hopefully he figured something out over the bye. I mean, I know it's not all his fault. I know it's mostly on the offensive line, and, it is what it is, and you're not going to fix the offensive line during a bye week. I mean, maybe they'll play better, but you can't fix the whole thing. So hopefully Saquon plays better. We'll see how he does in the next 6 weeks. I mean, personally, I kind of wish they would, I don't want to say shut him down, but there's not much of a point in playing him. There's a guy I wanted the Giants to shut down. We'll get into him later. So both tight ends are probably out. So Evan Engram and now Rhett Ellison are probably both out for this game. I know Ellison is, I think, basically out already, and Evan Engram has been ruled doubtful for this game, so not looking like those guys are going to play. Caden Smith will probably start. I think he started last game, or the Jets won, but Rhett Ellison was also there, but I think Smith technically started that game. Sterling Shepard, this is the guy I wanted IR this year, so he's going to look to return this game. He's practicing fully, coming off the multiple concussions, so he was going to come back a few weeks ago, still had symptoms of the concussion, and took it slow and took off the next 2 games, I think it was, but I don't see the point in playing this guy. I mean, he's 1 concussion away from God knows what at this point. So look, if the Giants were 8-2 and it was reversed, then I would be like, all right, you need him for the playoffs, but you're 2-8. I mean, you're not going to make it. So I don't know why Sterling Shepard is going to put his career on the line here. I mean, the guy has a nice 4-year, $41 million contract. I just don't get it. I mean, I appreciate that he wants to play for this team, obviously, but maybe let a younger guy like Darius Slayton play more, and we'll see what he has for 2020. But I really don't see the point in playing Sterling Shepard. So let me know what you guys think about him. But I think most people, based off what I see on Twitter, don't want him playing. But looks like he might play this game, so we have to deal with it. So offensive line struggles should continue in this game. So of course the Giants' offensive line had a pretty nice start to the year. I thought they might have fixed it. I thought Gettleman might have just fixed everything, but of course we were fooled, and this offensive line is still very bad. So it's definitely an issue. They probably get Nate Solder back, who I think has been practicing fully. He's been practicing lightly at least. It might be full practices, I'm not sure. So speaking of offensive linemen being injured, Mike Remmers missed the last game against the Jets, and then Nick Gates started that game at right tackle, and Gates wasn't that bad. He held his own for sure, but seems like the Giants are going to go back to Mike Remmers, which I don't really understand it. I mean, Remmers is under a 1-year contract. Nick Gates is still on his rookie contract or whatever it is, so I figured they might as well see what Gates has and let him play, but for some reason Shurmur wants to play Remmers. I see where Shurmur's coming from, though. He's basically coaching for his job at this point, so him getting wins is the most important thing, obviously. Pat Shurmur off the bye last year in 2018, 27-23 win at San Francisco. Of course, the Niners were not as good as they were last year as they were this year. Of course, no Jimmy Garoppolo. Their defense wasn't complete yet, but still, he's 1-0 as a Giants head coach coming off a bye, so that's definitely a positive. So Shurmur had this weird quote during the bye week where he says, "It's time to go out and get a victory." I don't know why he would say that now. I mean, it's kind of like a no kidding type of thing, but I mean the guy wants to win. Obviously, we'll see if his coaching reflects that. But I mean, we'll see if the Giants can go out there. And honestly, it depends. If the Giants go out and play hard, and you can tell they probably want this guy to keep his job. But if they play like crap this game and seem disinterested or uninterested, whatever the word is, I mean, it's not a good look for Pat Shurmur, so he better hope these guys come out and play hard for him. That's all I got to say. So, on the defensive side of the ball, can the bye week fix DeAndre Baker? So, DeAndre Baker's had a lot of mistakes this year, obviously. Doesn't know the defensive playbook, doesn't know some of the defensive calls, and has had some rough penalties and stuff like that. We'll see if the off week and the 2 weeks of rest can help him just kind of regroup and hopefully finish out playing well these last 6 games. I'm definitely not out on him yet. I don't think he's a bust or anything yet, but so far it's not looking good for him. But I'm hoping that in the last 6 games of the year he can play much better. So I also want to see Julian Love play some free safety instead of Antoine Bethea. Of course, Bethea is probably not going to be here next year. I know he signed a 2-year contract, but if he's back here next year, I don't know what to say about Gettleman at that point, but Julian Love should play more. There's really no point in him not playing. I mean, Antoine Bethea, Love can't be that much worse than Antoine Bethea is what I'm trying to say. These receivers are good, and they're going to be tough to cover. So, of course, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller. I talked about Allen Robinson, one of the better wide receiver ones in the football, but just on the wrong team. It's going to be tough. They have a lot of fast and speedy playmakers that can beat you up the field. We'll see what happens. It's going to be tough for guys like Corey Ballantyne against Anthony Miller, and then you have Taylor Gabriel on the outside, probably against Baker, and then Janoris against Allen Robinson. Yeah, Janoris against Allen Robinson. So those are going to be tough matchups, and it might be tough for the Giants to cover those receivers. Of course, as I said before, it all lies on Mitch Trubisky and his arm and what he does and if he can throw those guys open or not. So can we see more Deion Buchanan instead of David Mayo? So, we've seen David Mayo start for the Giants since Ryan Conley was out, and look, David Mayo was all right at one point, but he's average, and that's all he's ever going to be. So, there's no point in playing David Mayo. I think I want to see more Deion Buchanan, who's actually had a really good year in the NFL before. I think he's a better player right now, and you need to see this guy and see if you can bring him back next year. I don't think David Mayo's the future. I don't think Buchanan is either, but Buchanan might be a really good depth option for next year. So hopefully they play him more and see what he's all about and see if he's a part of this team in 2020. More snaps for Sam Beal, so I definitely hope so. We saw Sam Beal play a little bit in the last game, so I don't think he's going to start this game, but can we at least see him get 50% of snaps? I forget what his snap count number was. I think he went in when Janoris Jenkins had the concussion late in that Jets game. So, hopefully he plays more snaps in this one, but you never know with Shurmur. As I said, Shurmur's number one priority is to win games right now. He doesn't care about seeing these guys for 2020 because he doesn't even know he's going to be here for 2020. So that's obviously not the biggest thing for Pat Shurmur right now. So he's going to put his best guys out there on the field. It's not about 2020 for him. It's about saving his job. So my score prediction for this one, Vegas has it as the Bears favored by 6.5 points. I could see this going either way, honestly. I think it's closer than 6.5 points. If I was betting this game, I'd pick the Giants to cover that spread. I think the Giants probably lose this game by 3 or 4. That's what I'm going to go with. I think the Bears are just too good on defense, honestly. I do like our offense in some areas, but it's going to be very tough, and Daniel Jones will have to be near flawless to beat this team. And maybe Mitch Trubisky has his breakout game. He's had his best practice week, and since he's been in the NFL, according to Chase Daniels. So I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this game. The Giants being 2-9 is obviously not a good look, but at this point in the year, I just want the better draft pick, and we're all out here wanting Chase Young and stuff like that. So not the worst thing in the world if we lose. I've been saying this the last 2 years, and it's sad, but it's also true at the same time. So as I said with the Jets game and the Cowboys game, if they lose this game, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. It is what it is. I'm just watching this team to see what's good for 2020 and who we should keep and stuff like that. And obviously, I don't want to miss any Giants games, but still, not going to be watching it with a lot of passion is what I'm going to say. So we'll see what happens in this game. I have the Giants losing this one by 3 or 4. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen in this game. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you next time.